Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live, unedited edition, Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night. It's the 25th of January. We're almost through the month. 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. If you got it any other time than that, you've got the recorded version on YouTube. Hang out. We'll get started here in just a second. Don't be so impatient. It's not a TikTok video, but that's okay. Don't be so impatient. Hang around. For those of you, I saw a few of you guys hanging out in the chat room. Tony, who beat John, that's official. Brian, and John won't be here. He's got something going on tonight. Brian and Ken, good to see you guys. Got Bob and Ryan from ThinkComputers.org with me. Gentlemen, welcome back to the pre-show of Home Gadget Geeks. Good to see you guys.
It's always good to be back. A nice second. We had our podcast last night, so it's the second night in a row to be able to talk tech.
Yeah. That's not a bad deal. And you survived. We'll talk about it. Don't give away too much, but you survived another CES.
Yeah.
Any CES you can walk away from. It's a good CES. It's good CES.
Yeah. I got under the weather a little bit the last day or two, and but it wasn't. Right. I didn't get like the full CES crud, that you hear about. Thankfully, so I shook it off after a day or two.
Yeah, I didn't. I was fine. I didn't have any issues.
Nope.
The days I did CES, $12 burgers, they got to be 25 at this point.
Oh, Ryan was so mad. We
yeah,
you can tell us.
We were looking for lunch. I don't remember what day, and we were like between places, but we had an opening for lunch for the meetings, and it was like, all right, we don't have time maybe for a sit down, so we're gonna have to do something fast food. Let's find a food court at one of the casinos. So I don't remember where we were.
Bally's.
Yeah, okay, Bally's. And
or isn't it called something else now? It's called like Horseshoe, whatever.
Horseshoe,
but it's Bally's, but it's Bally's.
Back there between it and Paris. But so we're walking through and we were trying to find Guy Fieri's Flavor Town. And we just went kind of a different direction, ended up in their more generic food court, sat down, ordered up at Johnny Rockets, and I got a burger, fries, and a large Pepsi, and it was $32 after tax. Insane. It was so depressing, and it wasn't good.
You kind of expect a little bit more, and
I expect a premium. Yes,
I think you expect that from like a sit down restaurant, but like when you're getting essentially, I mean, Johnny Rockets is fast food. Like you're kind of expecting fast food prices. You're not expecting and again. $30, like we could have went to a more sit down restaurant. And
the last day, we ate at Momofuku, and I had really good ramen, and it was the same price.
Yeah,
maybe a little cheaper. And like the first night we were there, we went down to Mandalay Bay for an event, kind of like a press show, and I ate Subway and had just a 6-inch, and it was a 6-inch. I don't even remember if I had chips and a drink. I think I just had the
you didn't have a drink because you had your water bottle.
Yeah. That's right. And it was still like $15 for a 6-inch sub. And
it
has definitely gone up over the years.
Yeah, I don't really eat like a ton of fast food. I kind of just eat like I'll get in and out every once in a while. But I did go to a McDonald's maybe like 3 months ago, and it's like if you want one of the meals, like say like a Big Mac or whatever else they have, it's almost $20.
Yeah.
Like here in California for it's McDonald's. It's supposed to be cheap. Like that's why you go there.
Well, it is cheap compared. I mean, go to B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings. I mean, it was like $90.
Yeah, especially with like chicken wings were one of the things that were like one of the biggest foods hit by like inflation was like chicken wings. Yeah. So like any place because you go to get chicken wings, they're far more expensive than any other one of the other foods. But yeah,
what hasn't been hit is pizza. Like we went to when we were in Kentucky, we were in Moorhead, and we went to a pizza place for the first day we were there. And I think I spent $45 or $50, and that got us 2 large pizzas and drinks for everybody, and that was 5 adults. And you're like, oh, okay, there's still some places you can get away with it.
Especially like a lot of the more local non-chain places they try to they want to keep their customers obviously. So they do like here it's like all the taco shops are still like kind of like the normal prices you would expect. Like nothing's kind of out of control. So
But it didn't feel like other restaurants were more expensive than usual, right? We ate at multiple restaurants. I didn't think, anyways.
Nothing crazy. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but nothing. Like it wasn't like you were paying 20% more or something like that. Yeah. So
we traveled 1,600 miles last week, and so stopping along the way and stuff, and it's noticeable. Arby's meals are $12 each. And you're just kind of like, God, I remember when this was like $7.
Yeah.
And it's just a
well, none of the
painful
places have like a dollar menu anymore or anything. And
now Taco Bell, we talked about this when
they just raised their prices though.
Sammy was on here. Yeah, but they still have the $5 boxes.
They do,
yeah.
And that's not a bad. The kids meals at Burger King, if you like, you can get a double cheeseburger kids meal, $5. And that's all you really need anyways, just to be honest. You don't need big old fries and a big old drink. And the kids meal at Burger King is what the regular meals used to be like 20 years ago. Right.
Yeah. I stopped at this place halfway to Vegas because I drove. It was called Tommy's. I don't know, but it's like they're like famous for like a chili cheeseburger. And I got like the meal, and the meal came with like a regular size soda. And I don't even drink that much, but I was like, I'll have the soda. And it was like this big for the regular. And I was like, oh, this is why everybody in America is overweight.
Yeah. You're like, that's regular?
Yeah, that's a regular. Like, that's crazy.
Can I get an extra small?
Yeah.
When we ate at Subway that first night, though, we even commented it used to be $5 foot long, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole jingle and everything. Yeah, those days are gone.
Oh no. Yeah, their history. Yeah, it's a little sticker shock, and it. Like we've been talking about it now. This is not like it happened yesterday.
Yeah,
right? We've all been talking about it, but when you go, Tony or Brian had said earlier, it's the new prices are like the old stadium prices.
Yeah, and the stadium prices are even.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what you pay in Vegas in that. What's it, Reliant?
It was actually affordable. I went to Chiefs versus Raiders last year, and it was surprisingly affordable. I was not disappointed at all.
That's good.
All right. Well, that's good to know.
Sometimes like a lot of stadiums will have like a deal, or they'll have something like 2 beers for $15 or something along those lines. I think a lot of them, because like they all know that if you get something else, you're kind of getting screwed. So
couple weeks ago, I was on one of the sites that where they sell StubHub tickets, where you can get the scores of the game, and then it says buy, go to the game, whatever. So you see Kansas City 77, you see in Vegas 125, San Francisco 130, Baltimore $16 to get a ticket in Baltimore.
And you might get shot trying to go to the game. So
that just tells you, you're like, oh boy, that's dropped $16. Huh? You can't even go to a movie for $16.
No way.
No, not anymore.
Yeah, my daughter just pulled it. All right, let me kick this thing off. You guys know the drill. I'll do the whole intro thing and the weather and whatever, and then we'll get started here. Let me kick this off. Tony, Brian, Joe, and Ken, good to see you guys out there. Chime in the chat, and we'll be ready for it. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 598 with Bob and Ryan from ThinkComputers.org, recorded on January 25th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home, news, reviews, product updates, and conversation. A lot of conversation tonight, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy TV studios here in a chilly but warmer. Ryan, you're in the Midwest here with me.
Yep.
At what point does 30 get balmy? Like,
I know, right? Well, and even this weekend, we're thinking about going out of town for a little bit on Sunday, and it was supposed to be around 50 where we're going. And then I looked later in the week, and I saw 60 on our temperatures coming up. I was like, what is happening? Because 2 weeks ago, it was in the negatives, right?
Yeah,
it's wild.
-18 we had on a Sunday, and a -10 the next week. All of a sudden 30, and Bob's in a hat. It's probably 55 degrees there. Bob, what's going on?
I'm Californianized now, so it's cold. I'm like that. So when I first moved here, when I flew out here to look at apartments, it was in the middle of COVID, so you had to eat outside at the time.
Mhm.
And I'm coming from Pittsburgh, and I think it was February at the time, and I'm like, oh, this is warm weather, and there's people in like North Face jackets and what I'm wearing now, and I was like, these people are crazy. But then 3 years later, here I am.
You've
succumbed.
You have
acclimated.
Succumbed to the California. Well, we won't hold it against you because we got a lot to talk about with Vegas, and that's a whole nother world. So we'll post a show with some world-class show notes tonight as we talk about things. I'll be going out and grabbing those links from ThinkComputers. So you want to check out the show notes for those. Big thanks to Christian Johnson, who joined me last week. Some good conversation about Bitwarden and LastPass and AI and some of those kinds of things. If you haven't caught up on that, check that out. He is 597, and you can check that out. Still out there for you. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers who each and every month support the show and what we do. Appreciate you guys doing that. You can give for a month or as long as you want. Check it out today, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. All right, I mentioned it earlier. Bob and Ryan are here with me. ThinkComputers.org is their website. Lots of great reviews. You guys do a bang-up job of making sure we're well. And I think for my audience, one of the best, Aaron does a nice job too, but you guys get into the nitty-gritty, especially in the PC realm. Even down to chairs. I think you've done tables. You're the foremost expert in keyboards for sure. Cases are a big deal. That's stuff we all used to talk about a lot. Most of the tech space has fallen off, but you guys keep doing it. So, Bob, Ryan, great job. But thanks for coming on tonight. Welcome.
Of course, thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to have you. You're fresh off of a CES run. CES 2024. You mentioned in pre-show that we may be on the back end of the cycle of CES, where it used to be kind of an exclusive, not in a bad way, just not a few bloggers going, and then it got super popular for bloggers and podcasters and such. Did you get a feel as you thought about it? Are there as many of those going as there been in the past?
I mean, I think there's a lot of people still going. It is a great place to go if you want to see new tech. And on top of that, it's a great place to network. But I think what we were talking about is like in terms of coverage, like a lot of people are doing the really short form TikTok type coverage, whereas like we're still doing like long form videos for the things that we're covering in articles and things like that. And I don't think a lot of people are really doing that as much anymore, because as soon as you see it on TikTok, it's old news,
Yeah.
That type of content doesn't take as long to make. But we always like, I for like a lot of products, you really can't do a 1-minute video on a product. You really want to get all the details, and that's like our big thing is getting all the details out to everybody, especially if it's a new product, like when's it coming out, how much is it going to cost, here are all the features, stuff like that. So
Ryan, your thoughts as you overall?
I agree. Yeah, I end up with mini carpal tunnel from all the writing notes I do at every meeting every year. But no, I appreciate it when I am looking for information. Maybe there's a show that happens in Asia every year, Computex, right? And I always appreciate looking at the content that is more robust and has more pictures or video and text to go along with the news, right? Because maybe I want to see a different angle of a case or a product, or I want to know what the price is so I can plan for my future build. I feel like we're one of the, few sites that is still doing a lot of in-depth coverage at CES. So, and I don't think we're going to change that anytime soon, right? We'll keep doing what we've been doing, but we've also expanded to that short form content as well.
Yeah. So we put out pretty much every meeting that we had. So the way CES works, if your audience doesn't know, is we meet with all of the companies that we work with and some that we are trying to work with, and they're going to show us what they're showing at CES, whether it's something that's currently out or something that may come out later in the year. And then we get all the information, and we typically make a video or write an article for each one of those meetings, going over all the products for everybody. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, and Ryan and I are typically tired at the end of the night, and then we got to wake up early and do it all the next day, because there's a ton of companies, and there's only me and Ryan. So, he's usually the cameraman for me. So we have to just go one meeting at a time throughout the entire day. And then there's typically like an event that we have to go to at night, or we're having dinner with a company or whatever it may be. So it's just over and over again for basically a week.
How many days now?
The official show is
4 days.
4 days.
No.
We were there for what, 6 days?
Sunday through Saturday.
Yeah. Because there's events that happen before the official show starts, and a lot of companies also do come in early because they know everybody, like they know a lot of the press are going to be there early, so they'll actually let us see the products before the show even starts as well too. So
okay, I'm a monitor guy. Let's start there. As we think about, I'm sure monitors were on display. You guys, and again, I'll post this link in the show notes, but you guys looked at the Gigabyte gaming monitor, first DisplayPort 2.1. It's a UHBR20. Is that the model number? Did I get that right?
that's the tech.
Right.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, are there monitors? Am I missing the boat, or there's monitors everywhere? And was there interesting things to see in the monitor space?
Yeah, so I think the big thing this year we saw, not only with Gigabyte, especially with Samsung and LG, because Samsung and LG are making all the panels that Gigabyte's using, is OLED. So for gaming monitors, OLED is going to be the kind of what's going forward. I'm sure you've seen the difference between a normal monitor and an OLED monitor. It just looks like night and day, especially when it comes to like the blackest blacks and the vibrant colors. So every company that makes monitors had OLED gaming monitors this year, and they looked amazing. I think my favorites were probably Samsung. And again, Samsung's making all the panels for almost all the other companies that we saw as well. So, but the best part about the OLED gaming monitors is that, especially compared to last year and the year before, is that the prices have gone down significantly. So you can get a large format, 49-inch OLED gaming monitor that's 144 hertz. Some are 244 hertz for like $1,200 to $1,500, which is very affordable for all those all those specs. And again, like they are so thin too. It's crazy to see how thin they are. But yeah, I think that was like all the companies that had monitors, there was just all OLEDs, and everybody was showing off their latest OLED display, and they were all competing with price and features and things like that. But it's going to be a year for monitors. Yeah, those are the Samsung ones that looked amazing, and they are so thin too. It's crazy.
I think I caught you guys live. Did you do live? Were you doing live stuff?
No, we didn't do a live one. No.
Okay. So I must have been on the site, watched the video, caught you on social or whatever. And I think Ryan, at one point, Bob, you're like, it's thin.
Yeah.
Then you're like, you're going to the side of it, kind of deal too. Ryan, your impression as you were on the other end of the camera watching.
Yeah, well, so that's like in most of these shots, that's me sitting there playing, right? I'm always a lot of times to test dummies at meetings and suites, so it's always fun to try a lot of these out. But to add on to Bob's comments, a lot of OLED screens, they look great. But we had some interesting features with a few of them. One of them is there's kind of this dual mode that the monitor can run in, so it can operate as like a 4K monitor with a 1 refresh rate, and then you can actually drop it down to a lower resolution with a higher refresh rate. So if you want to game at a higher refresh rate for a smoother experience, you can do that. But then you're doing something else that might require a higher resolution, you can switch the monitor to that mode, and it just switches across to that.
Do they have a remote for that? Like the worst part of monitors is the buttons, and you never know like what you're hitting.
Some of the companies, it's software based now, right? You can interact with it.
Yeah. No, most of the high end monitors, it's all going to be software now.
Okay.
And then we saw a monitor that had a refresh rate of, ASRock had one that was either 500 or 520.
520.
Yeah, 520 refresh rate, which is just wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize about the high refresh rate monitors, and Ryan and I both proved that this is the truth, is that you think something like 120 hertz, 144 hertz, it's 500 hertz. There's no difference, but you can absolutely tell the difference. And even for people who are on like a generic 60 hertz monitor, if you go from 60 hertz to 144 hertz, night and day. Like you can it's smoother, crisper. If you're playing games, that's where it makes the biggest difference. If you are playing games, because you can see things on the screen faster, you react faster. We did a demo a few years ago where they had us play a game where the same thing would happen, and they would gauge our reaction time. And on the higher refresh rate monitor, we had the higher reaction time on those. So yeah, a lot of high refresh rate monitors, a lot of OLED monitors. They just look so, like, the biggest thing with the OLED technology since it's come out was the price. It was always just for the average person. I think the average person, if they're getting like a large format display, like they want to spend around $1,000-$1,200 probably for something that's going to last them 5-7 years, like a long time. But OLEDs were always like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for something like that. And now the prices are getting lower, and it's just for the average person, it's the dream of OLED is becoming a reality, which is awesome.
When we're talking price, what like from a retail perspective for the average gaming monitor, what for that? What are we
like an
talking
OLED?
Yeah.
It all depends on size. Yeah. So like a normal size, I think Samsung, what was that, Ryan? That was a 27 they were showing. Like a 27-inch OLED now, depending on refresh rate, it's going to be around $400 or $500.
Okay. Yeah.
And then again, as you get into larger format, it's going to be more expensive. But currently, prices of the panels are going down too. So a lot of companies we talked with, they were like, "Oh, we're going to launch this monitor at this price, but in a month it could be like $200 cheaper because the prices of the panels are going down."
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
and it's nice that they have. What I was really impressed with was they didn't just have like curved; they had multiple options for curved and flat monitors at different resolutions and refresh rates. So it was like you could get the combination of features you wanted from just about any of these companies. It's not like everybody had one monitor and it was the same one because Samsung or LG came out with one panel and everybody used it. There were, curved monitors of different radiuses and flat and refresh rates. So it was like a wide gamut of options to choose from, so you could find one that fit your exact needs, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's the golden age monitors. I think now is the time. Like if you've been holding off, I say this every time I have you guys on, but
they had that arc that you've been wanting. They had the new one.
Yeah. Let me show that again. Is every time.
It's just the thing that I don't like about it is that they call it the Gen 2 or second generation, but the only difference is they made it so you can do 4 inputs, not 3. That's the only difference. It's the same one. It's the same panel.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in that picture, the guy's holding the DJI, what is it? The Osmo Pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that is what we use to film all of these videos. We didn't carry around the big cameras.
Let's go show that again, Bob.
Yeah.
And it was so beneficial and helpful. It was a lifesaver.
Yeah, it turns on.
Yep.
Kicks.
Yeah. So.
And we hooked up a set of wireless microphones to it. And we were off to the races, and it worked amazingly.
Yeah, those are handy. I think Ed Sullivan bought one of those. He's a listener to the show.
Yeah.
And they're just amazing.
Everybody had one too, because the biggest thing you worry about, because everybody has nice cameras, right? Like this is what I shoot everything in the studio with, but when you move it, it's all jittery and shaky. This by itself is on the gimbal, right? It's on a gimbal.
Right.
So you don't have to worry. It's, but the quality is good enough, because all of these cameras, your phone, things like that, like the quality hasn't been good enough, but this is a 1-inch sensor, which is really good in low light. And it's super fast. Like I said, you just press the screen over and it turns on, and boom, I'm ready to record right now. Like it's just good to go. That's what made it so great. Yeah, it's
Say the name of that again, just for folks listening.
the DJI Pocket 3.
Pocket 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost instantaneous by the time you flip it on. That monitor just comes
Yeah,
right
it just
on,
comes
ready to
on
go.
and it's good to go. And
Yeah.
like I said, it supports anything USB Type-C as far as microphone. So I have a really nice wireless microphone kit that I can use with it, no problem. Everything, worked really well. So
yeah, super
yeah, because I used to have to carry a big backpack, and I
Yeah.
used to carry a
Tripod
big
and-
tripod, and now I carry like a little shoulder bag that's just super
You
small.
could
so.
tripod that though if you wanted to put
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah, you
Right?
could.
Yeah.
Like if
We
I
have a
was by
mini tripod.
if I was by myself and Ryan wasn't there, I would probably like I have like a mini tripod that I would set this up and then like record myself and but I have
Yeah.
Ryan, so don't need it.
Well, Tony Rayner just said he bought the Pocket 3 moments ago. So
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We talked about it a couple months ago when I had Ed on here. Do you for the memory on that, you guys were shooting a lot. Did you have to be swapping memory cards out, or how did you manage the
we at CES we record at 1080.
Okay.
Just because our internet, our hotel is always bad.
Yeah.
So we don't want to take we don't want it to take forever to upload our content because CS is a show where you want to get the latest news out there.
Right.
So we shoot at 1080. Let me see what's in here. I think I bought a 256 gig card. Oh, wait, it's not in there.
Yeah, I don't remember you ever having to swap that out during.
No,
the
I
day.
never. I didn't come
And
close.
Battery
to
wasn't an issue either, right?
Yeah,
You'd
no, I have
charge
a-
it up. And
Yeah, I have a
the external
256
battery. It was
gig.
great.
So I don't think I would really run out. And again, we're
Replaceable
not
battery. Can you replace the battery in real time if it?
So there's a battery grip. Like I got the kit that came with the wireless microphone, the battery grip, and everything.
Okay.
So the normal Pocket is even smaller. Like this is the size of it. I mean, this thing is tiny, right? So there's no replaceable battery in this, but this is an extra battery grip that comes with it. And I assume you can buy more of these, but we didn't really have to. But it's really easy just to put it back on, and now you have one.
It gives
big
you
piece.
extra battery.
Yeah, it gives you, I think, double the battery or something like that. Yeah.
Ryan, Tony's wondering if he can take that thing into the Sphere. I know you went.
I don't know. I've seen videos of people with their cell phones in there, so I think you'd probably.
I think it's small enough that especially if you don't have the grip, like you could put this in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I assume, because I have seen videos from inside the Sphere as well. I think it's for people's phones, but I assume you could. Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the important thing. This monitor. No, just kidding. But like, I've always kind of dreamt of having 2 or 3 of these.
You should get at least 3.
Sitting across the desk, that they would, you'd have one straight in front of you and then 2 coming at you from the side.
Yeah.
610. They'd be 10. Those are each 1080 displays, right? That are split across.
I don't know full. Probably more than that. I think they would be 1440p displays.
They're like $1,500, right?
Yeah, they're still $1,500. They have a really, really nice stand that allows you to put it that mode, or you can put it in its normal mode as well, and it supports all that weight too. And I think it's like all aluminum too, the actual stand. So it's really nice.
Every time we talk about this, I'm like, I gotta get one. I gotta get these.
You gotta get at least 3. I won't be satisfied until you have 3.
And then we need a picture of it.
Like if we're gonna do it, we got to go all the way and get that done. Those are they? You were up close. Good resolution. Are they worth the?
Yeah, I mean, it's so good too, and especially like in cases like this. That's why I love my 49-inch monitor, but that one does it where maybe you don't have as much space. And again, if you're doing streaming or podcasting, you have like everybody here is on the screen. I can see everybody. I can have that maybe down here in the center. I can have whatever I'm talking about. So I have my notes up here. I could have social media or whatever. So essentially, like you said, it gives you 3 screens. You can do up to, again, and they have their Samsung has software that comes with the monitor that you can like make all the different boxes, all the sizes that you want. So it's great for productivity. It's great for like live streaming, gaming, things like that. It's I don't think I could go back to not a large format size display.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I struggle. I went back to work to a desk that just had a ultra wide and a pretty good ultra wide, and then a stand for my laptop. And I was like, one monitor. I mean, it's
Mm.
worth two, but you're like, oh, one monitor. That's disappointing. You get used to. For me, I love the real estate space, so
Yeah.
I love the more is better. Besides monitors, if you were to, and that's not probably the number one thing, but if you were to say for you guys, the number one priority or the number one thing you saw or the thing that you got the most excited about at CES in a product category, Bob, I'll let you answer that. What do you think that is? What was
I mean,
that?
I honestly think it was the monitors. I mean,
Okay.
the monitors were kind of what everybody was really showing off, right? And they had, like Ryan said, multiple sizes, multiple formats, multiple refresh rates, but they was all OLED stuff. I think for what we cover, I think that was really the big thing that was being shown, really, for the most part. We're not really in a big time for CPU and chipset launches. We're not in a really big time for graphics card launches, at least the big ones. And all the other tech stuff is kind of waiting on everything else that would be like super exciting is kind of waiting on those next things, I'd say.
So that being said, you had an article talking about the cool. I never thought I'd see a Cooler Master monitor.
They've been making monitors for a few years now.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just haven't heard of them very much. A mini LED gaming monitor. I assume you got what's mini at this point?
So the way the LED, like the way the technology works is each individual section. Ryan and I saw this, what was it, 2-3 years ago? We saw this at NVIDIA, the mini LED. Remember we got the demo?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah. So if you're playing a game and there's an explosion over the hill and it lights up, right? On a normal monitor, it's going to be kind of in the background. It's that explosion is going to be the same brightness as the rest of your monitor. But on mini LED, it's individual LEDs that will light that up. So it's more immersive. It gives you the real effect, like, oh, wow, there's this thing burning here. Or that's a bit like the demo that we saw a few years ago when this technology was brand new was showing like fire and things and how the fire is super bright, but the rest of the monitor is not. Because that's how that new mini LED technology works. And it's if you're playing a game or trying to, even watching movies and things like that, it really gives you a much more immersive experience. It's very expensive. Like those monitors are very expensive.
What is very like 5,000 or
no. But like for like a 24-inch, 27-inch monitor can be in around $1,000, which is expensive. But they give you that clarity and that, again, just, like if you're in real life and you saw an explosion, it would catch your attention because it's so bright, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on a monitor, you're not going to get that,
the brightness doesn't really pop off,
so
to speak.
Again, like your screen is like the same brightness, but then when that explosion happens, where that explosion is on the screen, that's going to get brighter, and the rest of the monitor is not going to be. You have to see it in person to really appreciate it. But if anybody has like a Best Buy or is there any other stores? Is it Micro Centers? Like I said, is there any other stores left?
Can't say Fry's anymore.
Yeah, I can't say Fry's, but yeah, if you have a chance and they have a mini LED gaming monitor, try it out. And I assume if they're trying to sell it, they would have a demo that really explains it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah,
When I saw mini LED, and I guess this is good to know, I was thinking mini screen size as opposed to the technology of making very small LED, but very bright, right? I'm assuming this is the controller and the control of the LEDs. They're really small, but very bright.
Yeah, it's the so on a normal display, again, this was explained to us, and I'm not necessarily a display expert, but you on a mini LED, you have individual control of each one of the LEDs that are in the display, and they're in patterns across the display. So you can individually brighten one part of the screen, individually dim another part of the screen, if that makes sense.
We used to have like lighting zones, right? Like the more lighting zones, the better, typically. And I was even at like a Chili's the other night, and they've had these TVs up on in their bar area, you know, behind the bar for years, playing sports on 24/7, and you could see the like burn-in spots from all the lights, and you're like, oh, there's like maybe 24 lighting zones on this monitor. Well, on these mini LED, you're talking, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of right, just so much more finite control over the brightness.
Yeah.
Would you prefer in I'll ask you this, Ryan, too. Would you prefer that from a gaming perspective to kind of the OLED, or if price wasn't a consideration, would you go with that?
I would like an OLED that could do that, but they're not available. I think I'm always like a large format person. I would want a large format display, and I think the best quality large format display you're going to get is going to be currently an OLED. The mini LED, there's not a whole lot of large format, because the larger the screen, the more LEDs they have to put in it, and it doesn't make sense. Which, like, a lot of those mini LED displays are like 24-inch, 27-inch, maybe 32-inch. Like, there's not a whole lot of large format ones. So,
Ryan, thoughts?
Yeah, I'd probably go the same route. I'd go OLED most likely. I like the vibrancy of the colors you get. In a couple of those shots, I was playing Fortnite. And if you've ever played Fortnite, it's a game with a lot of like colors. There's grass and bright textures and, you know, skins and things like that in there. And it just looks so good on that. And then, you know, I come home to this monitor that's not like a terrible monitor, but it's not OLED. It doesn't look like the stuff that I just
that'd be so
messed
hard.
around with at Vegas. Yeah,
that's why I can't go. I can't go because I'd come home,
get the checkbook out.
I'd just be disappointed. Yeah, you're like, oh, this looked so good a week ago, and now it looks like crap.
Right.
Yeah. I just couldn't put up with it. Well, it's I think now if you're thinking about upgrading right now, I think now this is the sweet spot. And there's no talk of panel shortages or availability. I mean, it seems like all the technology they need, all the components they need, all the materials they need are there for the most part, right?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, as of right now, you never know what's going to happen, obviously.
No, for sure.
The future. But yeah, and again, the panel prices are getting cheaper too, which is great for the consumer. And like I said, everybody's putting out these displays, so they, you know, that just means more competition, and again, more competition is usually better for the consumer. So
is Amazon still a viable? I mean, if you were going to purchase a higher end monitor, would you do it at Amazon, or are there specialty sites where it would be better to purchase something like that, do you think?
I think Amazon's fine. I think if you are making a serious decision about a monitor or even a TV, I would at least go into like I said, a Best Buy or Micro Center, and if you have the chance to test it out. But I don't know what the return policy is for the most part, but I think it's pretty good on Amazon. They have good customer service, so you feel like you're protected if something goes bad. Also, almost all of the displays from the manufacturer have like a no dead pixel within a couple years policy, so they'll completely replace the panel if you get a dead pixel or anything like that. So, but there's no specialty monitor retailers that I know of. It's just like Newegg, Amazon, and then if you want to go into, like I said, like a Best Buy, and but like I said, just try them out if you can. If you have a store in your local area where you can actually try out these high-end displays, give them a spin and like take your time, like be there for like 20-25 minutes, giving it a spin and see if you like it. I mean, that's what I would say, because you see videos, you see YouTube reviews, you see the manufacturer video, but until you actually sit there and see it with your own two eyes, you don't know what it's going to be like. So
I haven't looked at all, but is all this technology coming? Does it go from the TV down to the monitor, or does it go from the monitor up to the TV, or is it similar? It's at the same time.
Typically it's the TV because again, Samsung and LG make almost all the panels you see. TCL, but that's more in like Asian markets, but they make the actual panels, and they're going to sell more TVs than they sell monitors. I remember I first saw OLED tech 15 years ago in TVs. 15 years ago, maybe. I think it was yeah, probably like 15 years ago at CES in a TV, and that was the big TV thing at the time. So yeah, it kind of goes down that way because they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna sell so many more TVs than they will monitors.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I will say though, like the refresh rate on monitors, like you see the faster refresh rate on monitors. We do see it on some TVs for those people that want to like utilize an Xbox or a PlayStation, right? That want some of that higher refresh rate. That's the only part that I would say maybe comes from the monitor side. It gets put into the TV area, but yeah, TV tech is always moving into
TVs on their way down. Let's switch gears a little bit. You guys for my audience, we spend time talking about storage and memory, and that's another area. When you guys last year, was that just last year? I was putting a PC together. I think it was a year ago. Year and some change ago, I think, is when I was buying it. Or was that 2 years ago? I think it was just a year ago now. Or do you know?
Yeah.
Was that?
I feel like it was like fall of 22.
I don't remember
when I started. And so because
you had like you ended up with the 5600, right?
Yeah, I think I made the purchases in January of 2023. So a year ago. Yeah, sounds right. You guys are talking a lot about Gen 5. That was fairly new at that time. I'm imagining now all that stuff is it pretty mainstream? What are we seeing, Bob? What are we seeing in that space?
So all Gen 5 drives have been out. There's been a few companies, just like the monitors, there are a few companies that actually make the controllers and make essentially the boards that you'll see that all the other companies use for their Gen 5 drives. So we have seen Gen 5 drives out. The problem with current Gen 5 drives is that you have to actively cool them. So you need a big heat sink and you need like a fan or something to keep them cool because they do run very hot. So that makes them not as mainstream because a lot of people don't want that little fan going in their system. But for somebody who wants the fastest speeds out there, that's kind of what you have to do at the current time. We did see a ton of Gen 5 drives. Phison has a new drive that runs 14 gigabytes a second consistently, which is very, very fast. Their previous Gen drive that came out last year, that was Gen 5 or PCI Express 5, it was like 12 gigabytes a second. So they've added 2 gigabytes a second to the speeds there. I actually tested that drive. It's very, very fast. We also saw a lot of USB 4. So, portable storage getting up really fast, over 3 gigabytes a second on a portable drive. We saw a couple drives at CES that are going to be that fast as well. You have to wait for the tech to catch up on that because a lot of motherboards don't have, and like the specs I guess the specs done, but the drivers and things you need on a lot of the boards aren't there yet to get that speed. But lots of super fast storage, but I just don't think most people need it. Like I think a lot of people, even Gen 3 drives are plenty fast for most people. If you're gaming, if you're doing other type of stuff, and even if you get into Gen 4, the fastest Gen 4 drives are going to be around 7,400 megabytes a second, so 7.4 gigabytes a second, which is very, very fast. You really, like I said, it's going to load a game almost instantly. Like you're not really going to have to wait for anything. So
I think that's what I got when the drives. Okay, hold on, Bob. So you're saying to me people will put up with these big old GPU coolers, but they can't have a little tiny active cooling fan on their hard drive? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, the problem is, so those fans are probably 80 millimeter fans, and they're not. Yeah, and the thing is that those fans actually turn off when you're like, say you're not gaming, those fans will actually turn off. With the NVMe SSDs with a hard drive, especially if it's your main hard drive, it's always reading and writing and being accessed. So that fan always has to spin up. And the fans that are on these little drives are, I mean, they're like, how big do you think they are, Ryan?
A lot of them were 5
yeah,
millimeter.
like 5 millimeters. So the small, so for those who don't know, typically the smaller the fan, the louder it is, because it has to run, because it has to spin faster to produce more airflow. So if you get like a larger fan, you run it at a slower speed, but it pushes just as much air. So that tiny fan has to spin super fast, and it is decently loud.
One of the other issues though with that cooling is you showed that big GPU. Well, some of those motherboards where they place like the fastest slot, M.2 slot for those SSDs, is right between kind of that card and the CPU, and you can run into interference with that SSD hitting that card, right? So you've got to kind of worry about some of that as well.
Will that, so with Gen 5, will that always be a limitation? Is it always going to have to be active cooling?
No, so all of the, like the companies who make the controller, the biggest thing is the controller. The controller is actually what's really getting hot. And they're working on, like, just like with anytime we've had new NVMe technology, the first round always needs to be active cooled. I'm sure a lot of people remember Samsung, their big thing. They had like the fastest NVMe drive, but if you would load it up, it would overheat, and then your speeds would just decrease because it would thermally throttle.
Right.
So pretty much every time we get a new type of NVMe tech, it always essentially needs to be actively cooled, and then it will get to a point where it doesn't need to be. But with Gen 5, we're just not there yet.
Okay. So for most people, Gen 4, perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to be platform limited as well, right? Only the newest platforms from AMD and Intel are going to even support that.
Let me bring that GPU up again. What does it mean? So it says ASUS shows off a cable-free RTX 4090. What does that mean? Cable-free.
So this is a new change that we've been seeing with motherboards. ASUS is calling theirs BTF. What is, Ryan? What is
Project? Oh my gosh, no, I can't think of it.
You can look it up while we're talking about it. MSI has one too, where typically on a motherboard, and you did your build, you know that most of the connections on the motherboard are on the side that you're showing right there on the front side, right? So you have your power connection, you have your USB connections, all your headers. Now they're moving all of those connections to the back of the board. So on the back of the board, you'll have all of those connections, and all the companies now, the case manufacturers, are making cases that have the openings for all the connections to be on the back. So what ASUS has done is, you know, for a graphics card, you would have power cables going into that graphics card. Now they've made their own connector on the motherboard that brings power to the card too. So that connector right there can do 600 watts through it to the graphics card. So you essentially have no, like in your PC build, you look through the window at your PC, you see absolutely no cables at all. Everything's on the back side of the motherboard. The graphics card plugs right in. You have no cable, so it just looks a lot cleaner.
When the higher end cards were coming out, we were worried about cables burning up, right? And connectors burning up. I'm assuming this is a more efficient way of doing it as well, or not?
I have questions about, because so that amount of power is going through the motherboard. So when this was first announced, like 6 months ago, or it was kind of being shown, like that's the connector, and that's running through the motherboard, right?
Yeah.
And you already have, if this is I assume it's going to be a high-end system. I mean, you can have if you're overclocking a 14th gen processor, you could have over 1,000 watts going through your motherboard, you know. So it's something I haven't tested it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all that power going through the motherboard per se.
Anthony called it out. Yeah, it was MSI's Project Zero, right? So I don't know if you have the MSI page, Jim, or want to show it, but we have some images of the backside of the boards. They kind of show where all those power connections and fan headers and when you're plugging in the USB ports for the front of your case, all of those connections are now going to be on the back side of the board, so that it's just a cleaner interior of the case from the viewing side of things. So we had some images. If not, no big deal, but that's what they're calling it. I'm sure there's going to be a standard or some official name, right? But every company right now is just kind of calling it their own thing.
Bob, if you find it, throw it in our private chat so I can bring it up. It'll block you in the.
I've got it right here.
Yeah, Ryan, if you want to throw it in there.
There we go. Let me grab this.
Yeah, and that also has. We were talking about that Gen 5 storage. Some of the examples that MSI was showing to cool theirs. One of them's a big heatsink, but they actually had a liquid cooled one. It was a tiny little closed loop cooling system for their Gen 5 drive that they were showing, which is just wild to me.
You gave me the MSI.
It's on that page.
Oh, is it?
Scroll down? If you scroll down on that page, you'll see it.
That was just the page title. Sorry.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. So if you go
so there's those drives with the extreme cooling on them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that is kind of bulky.
Yeah, there's those Project Zero.
Okay, so let's see if we can blow those up a little bit.
Yeah, so you see how all the connections are on the back.
Yeah, so up at the top you got the black plastic there.
Up here at the top, right?
Right. Now they're not doing the pass through on this board for GPU like ASUS is doing, right? So we don't see that connector, but all the others, your SATA ports that you're seeing, the USB 3 headers and RGB, all that.
All of these connections are typically on the other side of the board, so it's just giving it a more clean look. And I think that's. I thought this initially was like, why are we doing this? It doesn't really make any sense. But pretty much every case manufacturer that we talked about, all of their new cases will now support this. So I think this will become the standard. So like if you look at those motherboards, you can see there's no real connections on the if you go to the previous image, like there's no real connections on the front of those boards, no headers or anything like that. Everything's on the back now, which is nice. So
yeah. Sorry, I was flipping around on that. Yeah. Our audio folks don't care, but if you come out to the video, you can watch it. It really, I mean, the front of the board is getting crowded, right? I mean, when you just think about if you got a massive cooler on your CPU, if you've got a massive GPU cooler, there's some talk of some AI chips coming for boards as well, which are going to be, you're going to have a neural processing chip here in the future that may be built into the chips. Well, but
I think the big thing too is, like you said, that's once you install your CPU cooler, once you install your graphics card, it's hard to access a lot of those connections. Yeah. So now that they're on the back side of the board is typically there's nothing there, and it's easy for the end user to then go ahead and connect something or disconnect something a lot easier than they don't have to pull out their graphics card to disconnect the cable or something like that.
Do you think for the PC builder for today, better to go with a bigger case, bigger board for that room, or, and I know there's a movement towards micro of trying to jam as much as you can in a little, but that seems like a lot of work for a little return. I know the footprint's smaller. But Bob, thoughts on, would you rather have a bigger case, bigger board, more room, or get that as many as possible?
I don't like a massive case, but I'm not a big fan of mini ITX just because they are so hard to work in. And you do get limited. So like a mini ITX case, you can only do 2 sticks of memory. You don't get as many all those boards don't have as many features as a full size ATX motherboard. So for me, I like the normal size cases, and you do want a case that does give you some room to kind of work into, because even if you are doing like an ATX build, if you're doing it in an incredibly tiny case that like things just fit, if you're working on your system a lot, it's really going to be a pain. So I prefer a normal size ATX case.
Right.
Yeah, I think for someone doing, an initial build or someone new to it, a full size tower or mid size tower is the best bet. I think you're very niched down when you start getting into the mini ITX and trying to cram as much into a loaf of bread as you can, right? They're definitely for some people, but like Bob said, they're so much harder to work with and frustrating, and you have to think so much more about clearances of, is my CPU cooler too tall for this build, or is my GPU too long or too wide? All of those things that you don't usually have to think about in a larger case.
Yeah. We're seeing in our Discord group, we go to the averageguy.tv/Discord, Kevin Schoonover, he loves to post the micro computers, like, the all-in-one, like the Nooks, but they've got 2.5 for the networking cards, and you can make routers out of them and some of those kinds of things. We seem to be on two ends of the extreme. Like, we can go super micro if we want to run some things, right? And even, I should say some things, I mean, even some high-end Raspberry Pis can run some stuff, right? I mean, you're like, but then on the gaming side, if we want to get some CUDAs in there, if we want to throw some GPU stuff at it or whatever, we've got to get, you got to get just that bigger space to get in there and get that done. So it seems like a tale of two cities, between bigger gaming rigs, and maybe it's always been that way, bigger gaming rigs and really, really small. It just seems like, did you guys see many mini setups or mini all-in-ones or any of those kinds? I think, didn't ASUS buy the Nook brand? Did you see any of those?
Yeah, we saw ASUS's ROG Nook. And
cracks me up. That ROG brand is like a tough, like, and then this little tiny.
So it's bigger than your average Nook because they made it powerful. It can run games, it can do all that kind of stuff, but it's pretty small footprint. I don't know the actual overall footprint of it, but it's definitely small. It's basically like having a high-end laptop for the most part, and when it comes to performance, which is good, because a lot of people don't want to build their own system. They don't want to go through that, but they also don't want a laptop, right? They don't want to be confined to a laptop. A lot of laptops have heating issues, that they can be cumbersome. They want their own keyboard and they want their own display, but they don't want to build a tower. This ROG Nook allows them to have a gaming machine in a very small form factor. This thing has Thunderbolt 4 on it, and I think did it have 10 gig LAN?
I don't remember if it had 10 gig LAN, but excuse me, it's a 2.5 liter chassis, so very small. Like you said, Thunderbolt 4. It's very tiny. You could do 3 M.2 slots, Gen 4 in there. It'll hold up to a RTX 4070. i9 processors. It was pretty wild, and it was pretty small. And like Bob said, it's going to be more powerful than a gaming laptop, but just under like a gaming desktop. So kind of that middle ground there for someone that may want to throw it in their backpack and take it along with them, right? Someone that travels a lot for work but really wants to game all the time.
Yeah, well, there's just we've interviewed him before, Jay, who's been on the show before. It's this way. He's just a small form factor, low profile, super clean guy, and he just wants what it takes. He wants performance, but he doesn't want it taking up a ton of space. And I think that's a good way. I found the link to that, by the way, that you're talking about, and threw that in the chat as well. We'll include those in the show notes if you want to take up that review. Okay, one more. I want to get gadgety here. Let me find this again and bring this up. How many times? This is the ASUS shows off its wearable smart glasses. I'm assuming you got to look at these. Did you get a chance to put them on? And how many runs at these glasses are we going to take? Before,
I think it was cool. It was cool because you could have like this like I'm a big display guy. I could have this massive display. Do I want to wear glasses all day while I'm working? Yeah, probably not. I've never, and it took forever for me to even get a smartwatch. So I'm like not the biggest proponent of wearable tech. I think these were cool. And again, you could just like that, like you have multiple displays, but I don't like feeling if you're wearing this, or if you've ever done VR, like you feel disconnected from everybody else around you. I don't
Yeah.
like that feeling. That's just me.
Yeah.
But it looked great. The clarity was good. Ryan, you tried to mount it, did you not?
Yeah, you did the more like this, like Jim showing on the screen, where it was more like productivity windows, right?
Yeah.
Mine was with they were having me try like a gaming, a
Okay.
driving game. I personally, I wasn't a fan. It just didn't do it for me. And I think the reason was it wasn't like VR where if you put those goggles on, there's, I don't see the rest of my room. I don't see outside light coming in. With these, just like wearing sunglasses, I could see everything around me. And it was not distracting, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I've never been a fan of the wearable tech for the most part.
I have really tried. I have a Oculus too, and I have really tried to make that thing work for me. And even from a productivity standpoint, been like, hey, are there some things I could do for, what I do for Gallup, it's all consumer tech stuff. I use StreamYard, YouTube, I'm in spreadsheets. I don't do anything super difficult. And I just have not been able to make that interface productive, so to speak. It is a great YouTube watching environment for sure. It is kind of nice sometimes to just sit here, lean back, put the headset on, put on YouTube, and just like you don't have to be sitting up, or you don't have distractions going on around you, right? You can kind of set you can get the theater setting and do YouTube. That's kind of cool. Good sound right there. It's there. But I don't know. As we were looking at this, I just was kind of like, how many times are we going to make a run at this? And is it getting any
I
good?
think as everybody's trying to get the one that kind of catches on. I know that Apple's one has come. Is it out yet? I think it started shipping.
I know orders opened up just
so I think if anybody will make a stab at it, it will be them probably. But it doesn't really. And the thing is too, is you have to wait for one to really catch on, and then there has to be good apps and integrations, and those are going to take years, right? So I'm always like one of those people, like I'll buy the second generation of whichever the one is. Yeah,
or third.
Yeah,
I have a Watch 4, which is working great. Did I hear in the watches they had to turn up, like the newest Apple Watch has VO2 or it's the amount of oxygen that's in your body. What do they call that? VO2 max or something like that. And they had to turn that off. Somebody did you guys follow that at all? Anyways,
I didn't see that. No.
Bob, I'm with you a little bit. I remember Google Glasses coming out and thinking, oh man, we're getting close. And then you're like, no, I don't know if we really are on these. And I wear glasses all the time, so it would not be a tough.
I think the biggest thing is that it has to be seamless integration, and it has to be very well done. And I haven't used a device where I'm like, wow, this is just like completely seamless. It's like you want something that's like the movies, like what was the one with Tom Cruise? Minority Report. You want that, right? But every one that I've ever tested, and again, I've tested a bunch of these over the years, they're just not done well. And they're it's too distracting, or it's just not the right implementation for me.
What I think though is, and we were talking about this before we started the podcast itself, is we saw Samsung's transparent screens, right? That's where we have the ability to, where I think it will be very cool is at a sporting event, being able to put one of those screens up in front of the whole football field, for example. And now I can show to everybody that's in the audience additional statistics and player stats and imagery that's almost floating in the middle of the air while they're still able to see the full field down below, right? Things like that, where it's not a personal one, because they'll figure out a way to, like they do with sound, right? They can do that sound beaming and beamforming to make it sound three-dimensional from wherever you're sitting. They'll figure out a way to do that with the visuals as well. So you don't have to have something on your body itself to get that experience. And
Yeah.
I think that might be where it actually ends up.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I tell you what, those transparent monitors or that concept, we were just talking about this last Saturday, and I asked the podcast coach for podcasters running a camera on the backside and making those, what do they call those? Teleprompt. Yeah, to use those instead of a teleprompt. I'd buy that tomorrow because teleprompts are they're always 4 inches, or maybe 9. And you're and for what I do with you guys, on a show like this, I really need a good size. I want to see you guys, but I want to look at you too, right?
Right.
Now I'm lucky. I have glasses. I kind of squint anyways, and so you can have a hard time telling where I'm looking anyways with my eyes. So I kind of have an advantage there. But I'd love to have a transparent screen that sits on the back side of this. That'd become, and then maybe set the translucent on there, so most of the time it's fairly dark, so that I'm getting that good experience. I've never seen one of these really working. But then for podcast, all I need, honestly, is just a faint image of you guys, and then push the camera through it, right? So you kind of just have a whisper of what you're looking at. And it's my biggest problem podcasting is I just don't look at the camera.
Don't release this episode. We need to patent that idea now.
Yeah, because mine's on the corner here because I have this super ultra wide. So I have you guys here.
Yeah.
But my lens is right there.
Yeah.
So it's
sometimes,
but then it's so weird to just talk to the lens when you guys are here.
Yes.
That's the difficult thing.
Yeah. And imagine, Bob, if you could drop the camera just behind the monitor and it would sit on a stand right there in the middle of what we're doing, and it would get us so much closer. Yeah. Again, in a lot of cases, it doesn't matter, but that would be a great, Ryan, to your point, that'd be another great implementation of that, of kind of having a transparent screen. I don't know if in the future, I think there's a lot. I love your sports example, right? Be able to see through it and have things coming up. I think there's a lot of areas, in your car and in some of those kinds of things where that could be super beneficial.
Yeah, I think in the future you'll see a lot. And I think the big implementations will be arenas and places like that. The tech is extremely expensive right now too, so you're not going to see it right away. But you will eventually see it, especially a lot of advertising things and your super high-end stores, their windows and stuff might use this technology eventually. But it was cool to see. It looked really good.
How close did they let you get to it?
You could go right up to it. Right up next to
cool.
it. Yeah.
That's cool. But not commercially available at this point, right?
These not currently, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Proof of concept, which is just a couple years away, that kind of ties into the last question I want to ask you guys. That's a forward facing technology, not coming anytime soon. Anything else and I shouldn't say it soon enough, but anything else that you saw not ready today, but that you were like, oh, this could be super cool. Any forward facing things that you saw that you got excited about?
I kind of knew. I knew about most of the things that we weren't allowed to talk about because they had already been briefed on a lot of it.
I think you're just going to get faster and faster storage, right? We talked about the 14 thousand megabytes a second drives.
That's ridiculous.
It's so fast. Nobody really needs it. I
need it.
There's use cases.
I always need it. I need the fastest speeds possible.
Yeah, that's just think it and it's boom, it's there. Boom,
it's
there, boom, it's there. Yeah.
We did see some cool AI stuff as far as PC related things. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners, they're trying to find a setting on their PC, right? With new things like Microsoft's Copilot, which is going to be coming out, and other AI tools. We saw one from Lenovo where you can just ask it, hey, how do I, you can just ask the question, how do I change my resolution? Or how do I do this? Or how do I do that? For a normal PC, just an average user, those AI tools are going to be great because every couple years, Microsoft changes where all the settings are in your PC and you can't find them anyways. Like I said, I remember when they changed, like when Windows 10 came out and they changed where all like your control panel was and everything. I was like, where's all these settings? And yeah, having the AI tools for just like normal PC use, and for especially for beginners or somebody who's not on a PC a lot, is going to be something that I think is going to be pretty cool. And you're going to see every every computer you buy, every full system, every laptop is going to have AI built into it now. So
okay, I love that example, but here's the drawback. So you think, let's use Windows as an example, and I guess it depends on how they train the model. But if you think, there's big changes that have taken place between Windows 10 and Windows 11. So which instruction sets does the AI get as far as how you do things and the way you get them done? And will it, how often do you have to update those models with as fast as they're changing to make sure that it's getting the right instructions? And
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how any of that stuff works. Yeah,
I just know it's coming.
Yeah, no, like everybody was showing us somehow some implementation of AI that they're working on, whether it was Lenovo, we saw it at Gigabyte, we saw it from ASRock, ASUS had some stuff as well, and it's every manufacturer of especially laptops, they're all going to have some type of AI helper. Like, you remember Clippy, the little paper clip? You're going to have their little AI assistant, and you can ask anything and it's going to help you. So, but the good thing is that with AI getting better, they are going to get better. Because Ryan and I talked about this. Like, you do have a search bar on, in Windows, but it's pretty crap. But the stuff that we saw that they were showing us, like the AI stuff, it worked really well. And maybe they knew the questions to ask it, right?
For sure. For sure. It was for sure a loaded question.
It seems pretty intuitive. And it's, when you're searching on your PC, it's like a set amount of things. This is like a learning model and all of that. So I like it. We'll see how it kind of hashes out over the next couple of years, but you'll see a lot of AI stuff.
Okay. Yeah, no, I believe you. I've watched some of the AI, it's only as good as what you train it on.
Yeah.
And then, you've got ever changing. Someone said, what if we put all of MSDN, the Microsoft subscription stuff, all that learning stuff into an AI model? And then I was like, guys, there's a good chunk of that's wrong now. Like, a lot of that code doesn't work anymore. And so if you're training an AI model on code that isn't appropriate or doesn't work or isn't secure, I mean, for history and for some of those things AI can do now, you think, okay, it's pretty safe. We're not asking it to do anything important. I just think we're getting to that point where it's going to get more and more important. And the language model is going to be harder. The models are going to be harder to feed, right? Because and God, as fast as Windows is changing, I mean, you're like, it'd be wrong most days. It would be wrong. Yeah, it'd be wrong most days. Tony threw out in the chat, back to the watch feature, the Apple Watch, the pulse ox. That's that when you go to the doctor and they put that clippy thing on your finger and it measures the oxygen, the percent of oxygen in your bloodstream. Apparently, there was a company that infringed on Masimo's technology that's been in the field for a long time. We've had those sensors for a while, so I imagine, and then
that's an Apple thing.
They were required
to take somebody else's technology,
except they didn't get to keep it this time. They said you got to shut that thing off, which is too bad, because pulse ox on your wrist is actually not a really bad thing. We have I did a show about this. Some technology health gadgets that we have, and we actually have that at the kitchen table. And I bought it during COVID because one of the COVID symptoms was you'd have low oxygen, right? So I thought, well, might as well, early in the pandemic when we thought we were all going to die.
We're all dying.
So I bought one of those. Now we have contests at the table to see
who's got the best.
Exactly. Sarah had been struggling with her blood pressure, so we bought a blood pressure cuff, and now we do contests on Tim, one of my sons. He comes over. That's the first thing he does is grab the blood pressure thing, put it on, turn it on, and check his blood pressure. So some of those things can be beneficial as well. Oh, and then Tony says, yeah, they have a value of 6.5 billion. So I guess they have a little bit of money to fight Apple with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that one. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ryan, did I ask you anything you saw that
I mean,
or-
not so much future facing necessarily. It did trigger something in my head when you mentioned Lenovo again, or we were talking about it. Was they had is it the Magic Bar on their laptops?
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
So this is available now, but it's kind of like a modular option for some of their laptops. So at the top, there's a little pogo connections, is what we call them, little spring-loaded connectors, about 7 or 10 on there, and some magnetic mounting options. So you could place like a really nice webcam and speaker setup on there, and it just connects, does its thing, kind of like USB does. You plug, USB in, except there's no cables with this. It just snaps on. And you get a better webcam. Or we saw a secondary display, right? So now you've got 2 screens and it's holding it on there. Or maybe an external SSD that can snap on there, or all sorts of different accessory options that I thought was kind of cool. Just adding modularity to your system without the mess of extra cables and things like that. So that was kind of cool.
I think not the
this here.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You guys, stuff on your site's really easy to find, by the way. ThinkComputers.org. You guys do a nice job. It is actually super easy to. I mean, you can see on the show, I'm finding this stuff in real time. It's not like we had this week. Typically, I have you guys on. We get a few links. We have some ideas of where we're going to go. And I was like, nah, we're just going to start talking about CES. And I'm just going to find the links as we go. Yeah. And with the exception of one, I think I've kind of found them all. But I think there was a modular PC company. This was a couple years ago where they made a run, and I think it was more internal than it was external. But this idea of being able to buy, you buy the shell and then you can kind of upgrade as you go. But this is, we're showing, I'm assuming this is a second monitor as well.
And it's all magnetic, so there's no cable. So if you're somebody, a lot of people who travel a lot, Ryan even brought one to CES. He has an external monitor for his laptop. You have to deal with the cables, you have to deal with all that stuff. But with this, you just snap it on to the back of the laptop, and they had a webcam that was there. They had an SSD. They have
wow, so storage you could run.
Yeah, you could just snap a storage.
Yeah,
I mean, it's USB, I think 3.2 storage. Wow. Like an SSD you can throw on there.
Little AI.
They had like an AI person on there, but there's just different things that they're messing with. But my favorite was the display, because one, that's where you want a display. When you have a portable display, you want it on top. You don't want it on the side of a laptop, at least in my opinion. And it just snaps in, turns on, and you're good to go. No wires, don't have to power, like the laptop's powering the screen. So it's really cool technology. And it's be interesting to see what other things they come up with, because they only had like 3 or 4 different things. If they had, it's kind of endless, because the connection is over USB. So, I mean, that's everything we use is USB. So there's a lot of different things you could plug in there. So.
Well, you need to have the proprietary magnetic strip and connectors, right? For each one of those built into it. This was kind of the dream of the Surface connector on the Microsoft Surface, right? Was kind of one connector to rule them all that would have some things in it. All we ever got was power out of it.
Power,
yes.
Never really panned out, but maybe they'll.
I think too,
it's so hard to do this. It's so hard to do this.
It has to do with the technology as well, and the speed, because like a lot of devices need, a lot of those older connectors were, a lot of them were actually Thunderbolt 2. A lot of the older ones that like this, I've seen these iterations in the past, and like that's just not fast enough. So having like USB 3.2 Gen 2 is definitely fast enough, and all of these devices, they all use USB anyways. So it just makes sense for a lot of it. So like I said, we'll see what they come out with. But I really liked it. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, no, it looks cool. Those were, that's a situation traveling. I don't travel much at this point. That may come back again, but that would be an ideal in the bag, in a case, sit down,
Yep.
set it up, snap it right on, and you're
You
know,
have a
you're
second
business.
monitor, and you can be productive, or you can be watching a movie, or
Do you remember the specs on that monitor, on that second
is it
monitor?
1080p monitor?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. Gents, thanks for going out and sacrificing yourself on the
Do it every year.
Oh yeah.
On the
I look
streets
forward
of
to
Vegas.
it, and then halfway through the week, I'm always like, why do we do this again?
Your feet hurt.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Ryan was sick at the end, and
Yeah.
Does Vegas smell to you? Like when you're there, does it smell kind of?
There was always one spot on a corner that
yeah,
every
smells like
year would
sewage.
smell. It smells like sewage, and this year we didn't notice it, so that was an improvement. But I don't ever notice, like, I mean, unless you know, now it's like, you know, marijuana is legal out there, and even though you're not supposed to do it publicly,
No,
you
I
catch
meant,
that
like,
every now and then. But stink smell, nah.
I always thought Vegas smelled a little bit. That was just my.
It probably does. We're just used to it, and like, and we're always just going. Like, we're just worried about making it to the next meeting on time. That we're not really noticing. But that one corner that Ryan was talking, you'd always notice it. You're like, what smells like sewage?
Yeah, they just got the sewer too close to the street at that point. Oof, oof. They're at the it's at the convention center, right? It's that, like, it's one of the corners. Is that
no? It's between
right at Caesars.
It's at Caesars, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a trip. I've every year, I think, maybe go back just for, old time's sake, maybe a couple days, not do the whole thing, and then like, no.
I think if you don't, like, so we're in meetings all week. I think it would be really enjoyable to kind of just go and do whatever, but we have our set meetings and we have all this content to push out. So it's like, we don't, I mean, it is enjoyable and it's really cool to see all the tech, but it's not like we're like, we don't really get to enjoy it per se, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you could do something where you do a couple live podcasts out there, Jim. Because you meet up with Erin out there, meet up with us, and do some stuff.
See her,
right?
Did you?
I didn't. I saw that she was out there for on some of her content, but
she does a bang up job.
Yep.
Yeah, she does a bang up job while she's out there. Yeah, we did in the years I went out there. We did some live podcasting. There was a ton of fun. It was hard to do. Like, guys, we had no connectivity in those days. Like, you weren't getting. You had to go back to the hotel room, and then you were still lucky if you had anything decent.
Yeah, because everybody's there. It's just so congested.
Yeah, we did some live stuff. I'd have to go back. It's 2013, 2014, something like that. I'd have to go back and watch those again and just wonder how terrible is the video. One, I mean, we didn't have the equipment. I mean, Bob, you think about the device you have, right?
And this can live stream.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I thought about picking one of those up, just using it as my webcam on a fairly regular basis, and then just take it with you when you're, put a little stand here for it, and then just take it. I don't do enough of that content to justify it, but I thought about it. Yeah, I'd be interested to go back and look at the quality of those videos from those days and be like, oh my God, people watch this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what were we thinking? Anyways, can you guys hang tight for a second while I close things up? All right. Let me do that real fast. Of course, I mentioned the Discord group. Well, if you want to check out all these reviews, head out to the show notes, theaverageguy.tv/HGG598 for this episode. We're getting dangerously close to 600. And I'll have all the links for all the stuff we talked about. Plus, if you just want to go out to thinkcomputers.org, it's, like I said, it's a super easy site to manage. It's well done. Bob, you do a great job on your reviews of being very consistent. You have like, here it is, this is what it is, each review based on whether it's a case or a board or a keyboard or a mouse or whatever. You give some very, very consistent measurements on that. And I'm assuming you do that so people can do fair comparisons, right? Yeah,
and then we kind of have a standard. We're not just going to tell you what it looks like. We're going to test it, and we're going to give you all the details. So
yeah, best reviews. And I also feel like you guys aren't 100% just mainstream, like on the boards or cases. You get a good variety of them. So if you're looking for kind of maybe not the most popular case, but an off case, so to speak. You
Yeah,
guys
we
are
try to
probably gonna
find
do
some
it.
stuff too that's like, the big case brand will be a little bit more expensive. Then we try to find one that's similar for
Yeah.
like, $30-$50 cheaper or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's the variety is great there. So check it out. That should be bookmarked. You should go out there often. ThinkComputers.org, all one word. We want to thank Christian for, of course, his support here at the Average Guy.tv. We talked a little bit about it last week, but check it out. Secure, reliable, high-speed hosting. If you need a site, he can do just about anything. Plans still start at $10 a month. Listen, you can't even get a hamburger for
Exactly.
$10 a month. So check it out today, maplegrovepartners.com. And if you want to leave a message, you got a comment for the show, head out to homegadgetgeeks.com and get that done. We are live just about every Thursday. You guys are live on Wednesdays, 7:30-ish. Is it consistent? Is it
pretty
okay.
consistent unless we have something going on or one of us is sick or something.
7:30 Central, right?
Yes.
Is that right? And then
Yeah.
where's the best place to go if I want to come and watch the video of you guys live on Wednesdays? What's the best
Probably
place?
just YouTube.
Okay.
We have just search ThinkComputers, all one word, on YouTube. You'll find us. We do all of our live podcasts there, but we have all of our other content, and we have a full playlist on YouTube of all of our podcast episodes as well, so you can check it all out there.
Yeah. Another thing, if you need, and it's available as downloads as podcast as well. Although I find when I have you guys on, and when I watch your show, I don't subscribe to it as a podcast because I want to watch the video.
I think
Makes
ours
the most
is
sense, I think.
just like with you. We do ours live, and then we show stuff on the screen, and it's a very visual podcast. We would like most people to watch the video, but obviously, a lot of people, that's their morning commute or whatever it may be. So we do try to be pretty, descriptive as we're talking about things, but the best experience is the video for sure.
Just turn on adaptive cruise and the lane control.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Watch the video. It'll be fun. You'll be absolutely no. Don't do that.
Jim said I'd be fine.
I do not want to get sued. Do not do that. You should not be watching it. But you know what? Listen, there's some time in the evening. Just don't watch Seinfeld reruns and come over and watch Bob and Ryan on the ThinkComputers. So we are live here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the averageguy.tv/live. For those of you, Tony, Brian, I saw Ken a little bit earlier. Joe is checking in. Thanks for coming out live. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. All right, friends. Good work. Appreciate it.
As always.
Who do you want to win the football game on Sunday?
Oh, come on, Bob.
Oh, geez, for sure.
They're not going to win.
Well, okay. I'm in St. Louis coming back from Kentucky, and I was a little, doubting as well. And I had my Chiefs hoodie on, and the guy says, "So what are you thinking about Sunday?" And I'm like, he goes, "Dude." And then he started rattling off all these things about this stat about this, stat about that, this percentage of that. And I was so impressed. I'm like, okay, I'll take the Chiefs.
I'm in.
Yeah. No, I think they did barely win the last game.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know how that guy missed that field goal, but and then the other guy who dropped like perfect throw, dropped it.
Yeah, Diggs.
Yeah, so but
Listen,
as much as I want Ryan to be excited about the Chiefs because that's his team, I don't think they're going to get past.
Lamar has traditionally not played very well against the Chiefs. So for whatever reason, 4 or 5 distinctly different defenses he's played against when he's played the Chiefs, distinctly different. He's done terrible against them all. And so now most of those games were at home for the Chiefs.
Do think if there is a QB that can just like take over the game, it would be Mahomes. But he hasn't played necessarily great. At least, last game.
I just think we haven't seen like his I don't know, Maverick style, like just sidearm.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those sidearm plays. But last week he had that play where he ran down the sideline. I was like, all right, I
don't think. Yeah, I just think Baltimore's a better team. overall, but we'll see.
Well-
It's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I think
So,
I think there could be more Chiefs fans in Baltimore than there are Baltimore fans.
yeah.
So it could feel like a Chiefs game.
They used to be the
You
Steelers'
know?
big rival was Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They and they listen, Baltimore's had some good teams, but they just the fan base just isn't the same for
Have
Baltimore.
you heard of this conspiracy theory?
I've heard a lot of them, but which one do you
So if you look at all the gear for the
Like the Super Bowl logo colors.
the colors,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
what are so the colors are purple and red, right? So the purple, somebody did the last like 4 Super Bowls, the colors for the Super Bowl were the colors of the teams that were actually playing.
Oh, all right.
So everybody's saying the purple obviously is Baltimore and the red is the 49ers. So that's who's going to win.
Well,
so Ryan, if the Chiefs get it, it's this. Yeah,
it breaks it. Yep.
Yeah,
well, they're red, right?
Yeah, but they wouldn't be playing against anybody purple in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but maybe the purple maybe it's red and red. I mean, we've seen that before, right? When we had the 49ers a couple years back, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I grew up a 49er fan. So because I grew up in the Bay Area. And so when that Chiefs 49er Super Bowl, it's kind of like, what do I do? It could be again. I mean, it's a very viable, and maybe Detroit will pull off a miracle in Santa Clara.
That'd be so wild for them.
It would be. They just get destroyed whoever they play next, and I don't have a lot of high hopes for them against San Francisco, but we'll see. You never know. Yep. Bob, why'd you have to tell me the conspiracy theory? Now I'm gonna have to dig.
It's on TikTok. You can see it.
No,
it's everywhere.
I'm sure. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to dig in and no, not really. Not really. Brian says bummer for his Packers. I really thought the Packers were gonna upset the 49ers. They've done it before. That's a big rivalry, right? 49er Packers in the playoffs. That is, they have done that a lot, and the Packers have upset them a lot. So I thought maybe this was the year, but no, not. Boy, a Packers, a Green Bay, Detroit, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Now nobody would have watched it except Wisconsin and Michigan, but that's still been pretty awesome.
This Twitch comment's cracking me up.
Bob, since you've I don't even pay attention to them. Do you Bob, since you've been down south in Southern Cal, have you changed? I mean, you were a Pittsburgh guy. I'm
not really a football person, so
okay.
He's a hockey guy.
I'm a hockey guy, and I'm still a Penguins guy, even though they're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. But still. Yeah, still no. If the Steelers play, I'll probably root for the Steelers, but I'm not like invested in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, not changing my Penguins. I'm not gonna. And there's no really good team in California for hockey. Yeah, for hockey. No. So
the Sharks, the Sharks were pretty good for a while.
Yeah, Penguins beat them in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
So. And like the Kings, it's like I think too, coming from Pittsburgh is like a massive sports town, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, and like here we don't like San Diego. There's no football team, there's no hockey team. All they have is baseball. I'm not really and baseball is kind of boring. So it's just like it's so weird being in a city that's like not all about sports. It's just weird. Yeah,
and yet have so many sports teams.
Around you.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah.
Everybody's like into college football or like college sports. So like there will be a bar here and it will be like, oh, this is the Miami bar, one's the Kentucky bar or whatever. And it's just these are for like the college, those college teams, you know what I mean? Like there's one that's like a Penn State bar. Like that's where if you're watching Penn State football, that's like where you go. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure there's a Nebraska one there too.
For
a lot of years.
It's just like because like San Diego's like it's a big transient city. Like people move here, So a lot of people that I meet aren't from almost everybody I meet's not from San Diego. So everybody brings all their teams and everything here. So
Ryan, did you see on the game the stat for Kelsey about when Taylor's at the game and when she's not?
I've seen some of them. Yeah. Yeah. So it's always like, oh, I don't know if I want her to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't try and get too superstitious on any of that. You know.
Did you ever think Taylor Swift would be?
It's a PR stunt.
Oh, it's
PR stunt.
Incredible PR stunt. Yeah.
Yeah. It's we need to get more women watching football thing.
Yeah, you'd think
Maybe.
that, but I would not have picked Taylor Swift to do that if it was pure PR.
Like, what's in it for her? She's already big enough,
It brings her a whole. It brings her a whole nother. It's a win-win.
Yeah,
so
she already owns the world. Like,
but she does. I mean, her male audience isn't necessarily somebody who's watching football.
But I don't know
or maybe it gets the dads on board, like the dads of all the Swifties that are football fans. Like, they're like, all right, I'll take you to the concert, or you know.
She's so huge. I don't know if she needs listen, neither of those franchises need each other, just to be honest. Like, the NFL is doing just fine, and Taylor Swift was doing
I just think I can't imagine it's real.
Oh,
in my mind.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I don't.
I think it might be. I can't.
I won't believe it.
There was one. It's so funny. Like, she shows up and almost knows nothing about football, and then this last game, something happens. I forget the play, and it went against the Chiefs, and she stands up against the glass and audibly says, what the fuck, and like like every other football fan out there, and you're like, oh, I think she's kind of into this. Like, she is definitely.
I mean, she might be into it. I still don't know how real the relationship is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think those two, those two could be made for each other. They're both. Listen, they both don't need each other. Yeah. They don't. Kelsey is good at handling. All of Taylor's boyfriends up to date have not been good at handling her success. Right. And Travis Kelsey is in his own right. 2-time Super Bowl winner, and maybe one of the most popular football players on the planet right now. Yeah.
I still have to say, he's not remotely close to being as good as Gronk. Not even close.
Oh, don't even.
Not even close. And I'm a Steelers fan, so just saying.
Well, he's going to pass Gronk, and he's already passed Gronk in some of the stats and stuff. So.
Yeah, I saw.
They're the same age, right? Isn't that crazy? They are the same age. That is wild.
He's one's retired, one's
Gronk is just beat to shreds.
Oh yeah, all that partying. Yeah. But no, I still think Gronk was just in his prime is much better player overall. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's a good.
I'm not a big football fan. That's just fair. Yeah.
Listen,
he's a great. Kelsey's a great player.
Yeah,
great player. And I really like Mahomes. I like Mahomes because he sounds like the what's that TV show?
I thought you were gonna say Kermit the Frog.
No, he sounds like what's the guy? It was
my
like
brother talks just like him. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like you look at him, you wouldn't think he sounds like that. It's so funny.
Yeah, he just grinds. He grinds.
Or are you talking about Danny Powers?
Yeah. Danny Powers. Yeah,
Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, he sounds like Danny Powers. Exactly.
Well, I'll end it on this. To talk Gronk, Kelsey's a far better athlete than Gronk ever was. I mean, Gronk was tough, and he could do some. I mean, he's a tough guy, but Kelsey's a way better athlete just overall. He moves faster, he moves better. Gronk was just like give him the ball and he'd grind.
Yeah, he would just
people.
Again, I'm not a real big football fan in general, so. If you ask me hockey, if you would ask me compared to hockey players, I would tell you up and down who's better at anything.
Oh, for sure. Well, the Penguins have been great. I mean, they've been.
Oh, they're not doing good this season.
Well, but they've been. Over the years, they've had some really good teams.
Oh yeah, we've had some of the best players.
Yeah, some good teams as well. Well, guys, if you're listening live, thanks for listening to This Week in Football. This week in Taylor Swift in the NFL. And we'll see you guys. I think I didn't even say this on the show. What do I got? What do I have next week? Let's look really quick before I let you guys go. Man, this list is getting long. Let's see. Joining me next week. Oh, Gavin's back next week. So if you guys listen live, come back. We have Gavin, Marv B behind him, and then Tony Rayner after that. So we've got some some folks coming. Thanks for coming out tonight. We'll see you guys. You guys hang tight for 1 second. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.